Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I just want to add on to what Eli was saying. We're met by the opposition to such a degree that I now in my life I don't even bring up the topic at all anywhere unless somebody else starts it, because the aggressions that is brought with even saying the term like flat Earth, it's like it triggers them so hard, and people will literally fight you with their fists over their dichotomy. And nowadays, like I don't even want to bring it up to people that I'm around because of that.
Doesn't that sound like a bit extreme on your part?
What do you mean extreme?
Well, number one, instead of bringing it up as the word you use, give me an incident of how you bring it up and what was the response so I could adequately answer what I mean.
Or just keep your mouth shut. What's your problem?
No. So, just like general, say I'm outside at a fire and we're looking up at the stars, and, somebody points out something, a light moving in the sky, and go, oh, that's the ISS. I'm like, well, do you really know if it's the ISS? And then it kind of just spirals out of there. Well, what do you mean that's not the ISS? The only thing with a light in the sky that's floating is the ISS. And it's like, well, did you ever actually see it? It gets into technical terms, and then they get really aggravated that you're telling them that they're wrong because they were told that that's what it is.
Okay. Is that the only one, or was it just limited to the ISS?
No, I mean, it's more along the lines of, flat Earth and the horizon and things that you can see at great distances that should be impossible on a globe. That kind of just sets them off right there,
All right. Well, you gave me enough. Do you ask a question or do you tell them?
I usually ask a question because I want to know what information they have and what their possible sources are. Did they learn it from school? Are they on the NASA website? Where are they learning this from? And then I got to kind of base my answer and my questions off of their information to help to kind of push the subject along, to get them to find the answers themselves without me just forcing my answers onto them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you do that properly, then it shouldn't get into an argument, and you leave it where it's got to be left, and you move on and go and eat the hamburgers from the barbecue.
Well, I wish it was that easy, but even here on Discord and Nathan's show,
Who's in charge of you?
Even when Nathan leads somebody to their own answers, they still get aggravated and upset and dismantled,
Yeah, so don't do that.
You know what?
So don't do that. I went to a
Gosh.
friend's house that I hadn't seen for a while yesterday, and as I strolled through the front door, the dog started barking, which is unusual. The dog knows me. But nevertheless, the owner of the dog said to the dog, "It's all right, calm down, it's round." That's what he said. Now, obviously, the intonation is, "I want to enter into a discussion about this with you." And I just smiled. Yeah, very funny. And that was the end of that conversation. In other words, just by the way that the guy phrased it to me, I knew he was being half joking, half antagonistic. Well, if you instantly get that vibe from somebody, why even enter into the discussion with it? Me, I've got a show about it. So that's different.
Because I love the truth, and I want everybody to know the truth, whether they want to believe it or not. I'd like to point them in that direction, but like I said, I don't even bring the subject up anymore because of the dog barking. I don't want the dog to bark. I don't want to hear it, so I just leave it alone.
You remember the Matrix scene with the woman in the red dress? Do you remember that?
Not 100%. I haven't watched the movie in a long
That's
time.
all right. There's a scene where Neo is being walked through what he thinks is the Matrix, and he's explaining that people who are in the Matrix are so hopelessly immersed in the Matrix that they will fight to protect it. They don't want to be unplugged. They want to be a cuck to the system. And he asks if he's paying attention, and he says, "What?" Because he's looked at a good-looking woman in a red dress. And then the woman in the red dress turns into an agent. And the real lesson is that anybody in the Matrix could be, at any moment, an agent. Yeah, they can just turn into one. Now, that's a metaphor that gets lost over people's heads when they start calling each other shills. It's like, just because someone cucks for the mainstream that they're fighting to defend doesn't mean that they're being paid by the system. It means they're integral to the system, and they want to fight to protect what is their system, because they are part of it. So it doesn't mean they're a shill. It just means that anybody who's immersed in the... I can't say that word. Immersed in the system will fight to protect it, as opposed to realise the beautiful truth that you have to offer. They don't want it. Most of the time.
Would anyone
And I
care?
There's something else.
completely agree
Would
with
anyone?
that.
Oh gosh.
Go on, 10th.
Yeah. Would anyone care for me to finish my point, which I never got to finish?
Yeah, you've got a very different attitude. Yours is much more proactive and constructive than mine, which is very pessimistic and negative. So go ahead, 10th. Put the other side to it.
Yeah. Well, I was in the middle of a discussion with this gentleman, and then everything went haywire. So I had to shut up until everything got quiet here. Once you're in sales and you have to make a sale which is commission based, or you don't eat, you learn the art of communication. I have had so many hostile clients become my clients because I have to fight through the pre-programming of, you're only here to sell me something. I'm not going to spend any money tonight. You can waste your time at the kitchen table doing your presentation, and I don't care what my wife, even if she takes your side, I'm not buying it. And then 40 minutes later, he's signing a contract. Now, do you think I'm able to express all of what happened here in that story so many times in 2 seconds, and then also constantly being interrupted? No, it's impossible. We are in charge of our mouth. We are in charge of good qualifying questions. You can stop your mouth after they answer a qualifying question, and it'll never get out of hand. In fact, they will go away saying, I wanted to argue, but there's nothing to latch on. And that's the skill of communication. But we'll save that for another time then.
All right, thank you for that.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chocolate. John, did you have something to add?
Well, yeah, I was also going to say we're not asking a question anymore. We're stating a fact. Eratosthenes proved the Earth was flat before he asserted it was a globe. You know, like things like that. It's not up for argument.
Yeah, Al-Biruni proved Earth is flat before he asserted he could measure an R value. That's a statement of fact. If you believe Al-Biruni even existed, that's not really the point. It's part of the narrative of the heliocentric model. Eratosthenes is no different. He's proving and measuring Earth as flat before he even asserts it's a sphere.
Yeah, so we don't have to ask questions anymore. We can make statements of fact.
No, you're absolutely right. But we're not asking questions about statements of facts. We're asking questions if we have a possible hearer or someone who doesn't want to talk about the subject. So why waste those facts on someone who's closed-minded?
Or what's in it for you should be maybe the question you ask yourself. So there's a certain percentage of people that might be receptive, let's just say, to the information that you want to offer to them because you want to offer something that you see as good, right? You see it as positive, therefore you want to offer it up as positive to somebody else. Am I right?
Who are you talking to?
Sure. Yep.
Talking to Chaos.
Oh.
Who's decided to go for a snack. Fair enough. I assume he's offering it up and saying, I want to be able to put myself in this position and not have them react badly because I want to pass something good to them. But even in best case scenario, most of the time, if you've convinced them that they've been lied to for the sake of argument about a globe, you might at best get them asking you a load of questions about the new worldview that they might need to develop. Well, what is the sky then? Well, I don't know. Well, that's very useless. I need a new guru. So, what's in it for you when you're putting this to somebody? I'm never going to find the answer, it seems. Maybe I'll move on to the housekeeping as we haven't done them.
Well, if you ask me, I could tell you.
I'm
If
not
you're
really
asking him,
looking
I
for
gotta wait
anything.
till he answers.
Hold on, he is answering. Go ahead, Chaos. What did you say?
I said I'm not really looking for anything out of it. It's if they have questions, I don't mind answering questions. And then you're right, it is met with, oh, what's the sky? Why is the sky blue? Why is this? Why is that? Because you're right, they are looking for a new guru, and I don't have all those answers, but it's for me, I'm not looking to get anything out of it.
Then why would you enter a discussion for it?
Hold on. My question was, what's in it for you? And you're saying nothing.
Just to get the truth out. That's all. If anything, I speak the truth, and the truth will set me free. So that if anything, if I were to be in it for anything, it would just to say the truth out loud, and whoever wants to hear it and be there to listen, hey, by all means, you can come and join in. But other than that,
You said
that's
the
all
truth.
I'm there for. I don't.
You said the truth will set you free, and you're just offering the
Yes.
truth. Therefore, by what you've just said, you feel that by offering this truth out to whoever, you will be provided freedom. Am I wrong?
No, not exactly.
That's what you said. You said the truth will set you free, and I'm just offering the truth.
All right, let me elaborate on that. So, being's the truth. Everybody wants to know the truth about, just about anything, really. And it's a load off my back, knowing that I'm not being lied to, know that I'm not a liar, because it's morally right. Not that it's going to spiritually set me free, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but just knowing that I'm not lying to people, and knowing that when people want to come to me for answers or questions, they can feel safe to come to me, knowing that I tell the truth as best as I can. That's what I mean by it setting me free of all moral, me being morally correct, if I may.
So it is self-serving to a certain extent. It gives you a moral, an affirmation of your own moral compass when you do it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Selfish bastard.
He cares for humanity.
It's just me, or is G Plus a bit loud today, or is it just John and Neil? No, I get it.
Try to speak a little lower.
It's an interesting point of view because most people have the same issue. But when I ask them the question as I've asked you, it's like, well, what is it you're trying to actually achieve? And if the person, you said at the beginning, something I don't necessarily agree with, that people want the truth. People think they want the truth. Yeah? But in reality, they don't. They'd rather have a convenient lie than the devastating truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan.
It's easier to just live that way.
Super loud in G Plus today. Super loud.
Nathan, let me ask you a question. Didn't we go over this the other day as pertaining to the law? And you even said then people don't want the truth. They want to stay in the system.
Well,
Yeah.
this
They like that
conversation
little
has
comfort bubble. That's what they like. They like to live in that little hideaway comfort bubble. They don't want to know the truth and the bad, the good and the bad of the whole system. You know, the whole beast of the system. The beast is ugly. You know, the truth
Yeah,
is
but
ugly, but it's the truth.
most people don't want adversity.
you don't ever have to deal with that if you allow me to explain. If you want to argue, then don't ask good questions, and you'll get all these people who don't want to change, who want to live in the bubble, who've been conditioned, and they'll mock you and they'll say tinfoil hat, conspiracy, and all the indoctrination. Now that's on, the first page, if not the first 20 pages of YouTube, with not even a good flat Earth YouTube channel representation. Or you could say, do you want to know what the nature of Earth is before they hijacked it? Because I used to be where you were. When you do, let me know. And it's over.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, and then when you ask that question, if they answered it cognitively, meaning they thought about it before they answered it, yeah, I do want to know why you used to be a baller and now you say this, because this sounds crazy to me. I say, great. You really mean that? Because I'll take the time, because I had to do a lot of study to find out how they lied to us, and I could show it to you if you're interested. Are you interested? A second closing question. So he said yes. Now he says yes twice. Now you got him. So now you start, and he interrupts. Hang on. You told me twice you were interested in hearing my explanation. You can't interrupt while I'm doing it. Take control and talk to the right people. Don't waste your time with the people who are going to mock you. I don't. I leave them standing like, what happened there? The guy just left me. I thought I had him. No, you don't have me. I have you. I control my mouth.
There's another way
You know
to
what,
handle this
speculate,
too.
I heard John first.
Fair enough.
Well, I was just going to say I did it yesterday, and it had fabulous results. I just said as a statement of fact. I asked it in the form of a question. I said, "Did you know?" And I said what I said earlier about Eratosthenes measuring a flat plane before he asserted it was a sphere, and I left it at that. And before, I didn't touch the conversation, and it led into flat Earth and people on their phones looking it up. It was in a group too. That's all I said. It was just that simple fact, and then I let it go.
Nice.
Well done, John.
See, that I can
know
get
about that.
behind. Yeah, that I can get behind.
So I speculate that we just live in the result of what peoples have wanted to do. And if that's true, then even though people are living in the deception, they were born into the deception, it's a result of maybe potentially what they would have wanted in the first place, which is why they don't fight against it when they find out. Because their forefathers have wanted the same thing, and the people before them wanted the same thing. And I think that's why we have this, they've built this wonderland together, we together. And it's like the idea that it's flat is out there. It's been out there for as far as we know, decades. As far as we can actually validate, decades, not just the last 5 years. A truth like that to people like us are like, whoa, oh wow. To everybody else, it's like, what does it matter if it is true? If it is, I'm not saying it is. What is it? They don't want it.
So,
I hear
some
you.
do.
Tell you what,
Go on.
tell you what I'm noticing on a personal level is some of my friends and their family now, since I can almost feel the apprehension when I'm out with him. Like, they're scared to bring it up now with me on the whereas previously they might have done a little bit of banter with me, a little bit of mild mocking. And since they've heard some of my talk, which has come from your show, Nathan, on the elevation angles and the photography, I can sense it now when I'm out. I don't bring it up now, and I can sense that I think they want to bring it up, but they're scared to because they don't know what to expect from me now, what I'm going to give them. And I find that quite pleasing, really.
Fair enough.
I would say I agree with that. It's, for some reason.
I also agree with that. Yeah.
Well,
What? They're scared of the truth, right?
there's a part of them that realizes that, you know, the elevation angle, like, yeah, an angle requires two straight lines. And, you know, so you pretty much implanted a memetic disease in their mind. It is flat Earth at that point.
You entered a virus into their system.
Yeah, Varus got banned yesterday, in case anybody was unaware.
What a day. What a happy day.
Why did he get banned? Lying?
Well, yeah, worse than lying. So he claimed I was lying. Said that I was lying when I said Earth claimed to have 15 degrees an hour of Coriolis drift. So he postulated that that was me being a liar, or just wrong. So he offered a false dichotomy that had only options including you're wrong or a liar.
Heretic.
So obviously I defended that position, and his response, while I took apart the claim made by people like Neil deGrasse Tyson that Earth turns underneath to cause a Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour, or the fact that globe Earthers thank Bob for proving 15 degrees an hour drift, the claim by the globe is definitely 15 degrees an hour drift, debunked by the fact that Earth does not turn underneath helicopters, drones, bullets, footballs. Because if it did, we'd notice. You'd have shortened flight times and continents coming to hot air balloons as Earth turned beneath them, as that's the only way to observe Coriolis effect at 15 degrees an hour. Who's that mumbling through me?
I was just saying blah, 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 blah.
Right, that's what he did. So as I took it apart, he went blah, 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 chanted and mumbled the entire way through me. So I watched his little light flashing the entire time my gate's open and his gate's closed. And then every time I close my mouth, he's talking as I'm shutting up, making me fully aware, as his light's been flashing, that he's been talking the entire time I have, so he doesn't have to listen to it and no one can Discord can hear him. I'm like, okay, get lost. If you're just going to go blah, 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 so you don't have to hear the response when I'm defending him claiming I'm a liar, then he's not welcome here. Especially when in reality, he's lying about what the globe actually claims. The globe certainly claims that there's 15 degrees an hour called Coriolis effect. We can debunk it, because that would mean Earth's turning underneath stuff not attached. Claiming that I lie when I say that is outrageous. To then rumpus the living crap out of me while I defend a claim that I'm lying is also outrageous, and it's not welcome. So you can get lost.
It's called projection. He's the liar, but he's projecting that you're lying, when all you're doing is saying what the globe claims.
Well, he took a step from ignorance into malice by calling you a liar and saying the blah, blah, blah when you try to clarify your point. That seems malicious.
Yeah, malicious, and at the point that he's denying the actual claim made by the globe of 15 degrees an hour Coriolis deflection. That is their claim. At the point that he says, you're a liar if you say the globe claims 15 degrees an hour of Coriolis effect. It's like, at that point, you're no longer willing to fight the globe's claim and tell me if I put the globe's claim in its entirety to an audience, I'm a liar for doing so. That's an outrage.
Listen, you gave him
Not to mention that
a large space. It was well deserved. Long time coming.
you could also be correct, or you could be misinterpreting. So that's at least
4 options.
Well, that was neither. I'm absolutely correct in my assertion about what the globe claims when they say the globe has Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour. That's the rate of deflection they claim as a result of Earth turning beneath. That is their claim. I'm not lying when I say it, and if he claims I'm lying, he's obviously not willing to defend the globe's claim, or even accept the globe's claim. Why? Well, because we can debunk it. Well, that's neither here nor there. I'm not interested in fighting with people who say I lie when I literally just put the globe claim as it is.
Yeah.
Don't they have proofsies? Don't they have the pendulum and stuff that they used to throw at us?
Well, they claim the pendulum is a deflection at 15 degrees an hour, Coriolis effect as Earth turns beneath. Of course, I'm called a liar when I say that. I'm not. That's what globe claims. 15 degrees an hour drift in the gyro or pendulum as a result of Earth turning beneath. It's called Coriolis effect.
We're back to realizing the proper question that he heard many times, and of course he wasn't here to learn or be honest, so that's why he got kicked off. But what was the proper question that he learned many times? What is the cause of Coriolis? Now, if it's not Earth's rotation, can there be the subject to even talk about?
No, the only cause of Coriolis is a non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath an inertial reference frame. The cause is you turning beneath. The effect is a not actual deflection. The rate the globe is claimed to have of said not actual deflection is 15 degrees an hour. So it's claimed Earth is that non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath the inertial reference frame to observe stars drifting at 15 degrees an hour, or footballs drifting at 15 degrees an hour, or bullets drifting at 15 degrees an hour. That's what they claim.
Right. So when he came and said, you don't understand Coriolis, Nathan, he made up his own because he doesn't have an answer to that. So he's got to make something like Johnny on the spot. And it doesn't make any sense because to have any kind of Coriolis, the Earth has to be turning. And that's all you were referencing. He's denying, he's a heretic. He's denying the globe model.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. At the point that he's denying the premise of the claim, then he's a heretic. He's not claiming what the globe claims. The globe claims Coriolis effect. And as I said at the time, there's not a single person watching or listening that doesn't appreciate that the globe does claim Coriolis effect. Everybody realises it. When you say Coriolis effect, people assume it's synonymous with the globe. It isn't. It's an effect you observe as you turn beneath. So to have it on a globe, you must turn beneath aeroplanes. Yeah, that would shorten their flight times. As a consequence, they want to deny it.
I feel like there's an aspect of this argument that they want to keep separated, even though obviously they're in the same path, right? So there's the Coriolis effect, and then there's the 15-degree per hour rotation of, celestials in the sky, right? Because I was remembering a while ago we were arguing about Coriolis, and I think it was like Ed Freeze or somebody, one of these clowns, and Nathan brought up sunsets, and what Ed Freeze said, or whoever that was, said it was irrelevant to the Coriolis effect, right? So they'll call this apparent deviation that we don't ever see Coriolis effect, but the effect of things actually moving in the sky, they don't want to call that Coriolis effect, right? So they don't want to relate the 15-degree per hour rotation to this apparent deviation. It's like they want to keep them separate, right?
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
I don't care what they want to do.
Right? Like he used to say all the time, right? But how is that irrelevant if it's the same cause? Because the reason the sun's saying your narrative, the reason the sun's moving is because the ground's moving. We're on a non-inertial spinning reference frame. That's the cause of the sunset. So that would be the same cause of this rotation or this apparent deviation that we see of things that we don't actually see. But for some reason, they want to keep that separate.
It's not just the same cause, it's the same thing. The sun moving is as a result of Earth turning beneath is Coriolis deflection. So the sun isn't actually moving according to their claim, but Earth and the ground you are standing on moves underneath the sun to make its path an apparent curved path. It's not actually taking a curved path. It merely, according to them, looks that way because it's claimed Earth turns underneath. Helicopters and aeroplanes and drones, and we'd notice that.
Yeah, and that's my point. And we noticed that, right? But the ones that we can point to in the sky, the things in the sky all move according to them because we're on this spinning Earth. But they don't call any of that stuff Coriolis. The only thing they call Coriolis are things that they can't actually show.
Yeah, because when you tie
I don't know,
Coriolis,
weird.
when you tie Coriolis deflection to what it actually is, sunrises, sunsets, star movement, the drifting of bullets, the drifting of footballs, all of these things that they're claiming are Coriolis effect, don't have an overt statement that Earth turns beneath. Whereas if you describe how the stars are supposed to be appearing to curve from your vantage point, they're very explicit about Earth turning beneath the stars. So you've got a disconnect because one, with Earth turning beneath to cause deflection in a bullet, means Earth's turning beneath aeroplanes that we don't observe, and Earth's turning beneath hot air balloons that we don't observe. So probably best not to mention that the effect directly relies upon Earth turning beneath stuff that's left the ground. Because then you'd look at an aeroplane and go, hang on a second, that means Earth's turning underneath that aeroplane, and it isn't. So best not to mention it and link it directly, because people would get wise to it. That's why someone like Virus needs to come along when I overtly state that Coriolis deflection is Earth turning beneath stuff. That he has to tell me I'm lying about it, because he doesn't want generally to comprehend or have others comprehend that the effect they claim is Earth turning beneath at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. Ergo, you launch a drone just by pushing the up stick on your remote, and it whizzes away from your position at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, from the drone's perspective, it's just going up. Obviously, drones don't fly at 1,000 miles an hour, but if the claim of Coriolis effect on a turning Earth is true, then the drone lifts off the ground and Earth turns under the drone at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. That's what the effect is. Earth turning beneath. Obviously, it doesn't happen, so they don't want that to be explicitly stated in certain circumstances.
No, I don't think it's a coincidence that the place where that would be the most observable, which is at the equator, that's the place where they say it's zero. Like, are you guys serious? That's ridiculous.
What is the equator anyway?
Could I say something? Well, yeah, I'll touch on much. Actually, what Neil
hold on,
said.
just 1 second, Brian. Neil asked what the equator is. It's an arbitrary position derived from the movement of the sun over a period and then averaged.
Yeah, the point I was going to make is that if they're claiming Coriolis effect is the reason why the sun rises and sets and moves around us or above us, and the same with the stars and whatever. Now, the moon, they don't really claim it for because the moon moves in the same direction as their globe. But for the sun and the stars, yeah, they claim Coriolis effect. And that's the reason why we see happening what happens. But then they make a completely different claim and call that Coriolis effect, something that has nothing to do with the Coriolis effect. It's made up what we call globiolis. And how could you have the zero Coriolis effect at the equator when that is the path of the sun, the very thing that's supposed to prove like out rotation, right? Sunsets and sunrises. You know, how could you have zero at the equator? Well, does the sun not move at the equator? Is the sun always stationary in a position at the equator? You see the problem you have. They're claiming two completely different things are the Coriolis effect.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but I had someone over a barrel with exactly that when they claimed it. Oh, there's no Coriolis, zero Coriolis. I think it was extremis. Zero Coriolis at the equator, according to my citation. Oh, so the stars have stopped then? Earth's not turning beneath the stars on the equator to observe 15 degrees an hour drift as you move at a rim velocity of 1,000 miles an hour beneath the stars to see them seem to move. That's not happening anymore then. Zero drift at the equator. Nah, bollocks. Globe claims 15 degrees an hour of it everywhere. Because that's why the stars move, isn't it? So when we don't see 1,000 miles an hour differential between aeroplanes, drones, helicopters, hot air balloons, or anything else that leaves the ground, if you're jumping up and down on the equator, and you don't see Earth turn beneath it, they have to immediately assert something that is completely contrasting the actual globe claim of Earth turning beneath at 15 degrees an hour to cause deflection in items not attached, not limited to, but including the sun and the stars. Well, if that deflection isn't apparent, i.e. we don't see it, not proving we spin, they just deny that we're supposed to see it, zero at the equator. Yeah, that would mean your stars had stopped. Yeah, that would mean your sun doesn't rise and fall anymore around your globe because it's turning beneath them, according to your claim that it is. But why would you say it isn't? What, because flight times aren't shortened when travelling west? Because drones don't whiz away 1,000 miles an hour when they leave the ground on the equator? Because hot air balloons don't just travel up and wait for continents to come to them? Is that why you're telling me there's no Coriolis on the equator? Because according to your globe, there is. It's just we can show how there isn't. When you say on a globe there is. There isn't.
That's a fact, and he's another heretic extremistus.
Yeah, denying the claim of 15 degrees an hour. I mean, what is it with you guys? 1 minute you want to thank Bob for proving it, the next minute you want to tell us that there's zero of it on the equator, and tell me I'm a liar if I say there is 15 degrees an hour of Coriolis according to the globe claim. I'm a liar for saying it. Which is it? Thanks Bob or Nathan's a liar for 15 degrees an hour claims? Which one is it, lads? You seem in cognitive pain there, fundies, on the globe side. You don't seem to understand what Coriolis is and how we debunk it. It's Earth turning beneath at a rate causing a drift in things you see not attached to the Earth. Well, if you're seeing drift of an aeroplane not attached to the Earth, it's having its flight time shortened because Earth's turning beneath it, and that doesn't happen. Go ahead, Paul. Was it Paul or John?
I think it's really nice of you.
You're obviously not John or Paul, Neil.
I was saying same difference. Just kidding, John.
Well, I think it's nice of Nathan because he lets them beg the question, that it's a sphere with an axis. I think that's nice of him.
It is nice. Why shouldn't I allow them that generosity, John? Wow, because basically... because they have...
with kids, sorry.
That's okay. Do you want me to fill in
That's the whole thing. It's because the plane, right? If there was no flight times being changed, then they would be okay with it.
Because the assertion of a radius, the assertion of having a radius and an axis to have a radial value to give you a spin rate, i.e. the 15 degrees an hour I've mentioned on multiple occasions that the globe claim has, then you'd need to violate the celestial sphere model that utilises elevation angles off a flat plane. Further to that, their R value is derived by using flat Earth measurements. So it's a contradiction in terms to even say you've got an axis with an R value. You haven't. It violates the celestial sphere model.
Oh, dear.
I was going to say, with the case of extremists, right?
Chocolate first. Hold on one deck. Hold on one deck. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, it's all good. I was going to say, with that case of extremists, right? Maybe he's not trying to be a heretic, right? Because he's trying to present both sides of that same argument, right? He'll say there's Coriolis effect, so he does believe there's Coriolis effect, but then his narrative also tells him at the equator there's no Coriolis effect, which he tries to present that with citation. The only problem is that he can't make, or the Globers can't make the correlation of, yeah, if you've got no Coriolis effect, but the cause is still happening at the equator, then that should still be happening. But maybe it's just painful because their side is saying both things at the same time, out of both sides of the mouth.
Go ahead, one deck.
I was just saying, Nathan, yeah, I think I agree that with getting rid of that virus and getting rid of all these knuckleheads, anti-flat earthers who just talk in riddles. We're wasting our time with them. We need to get this message out to the normies and people like that, because they're just draining us, them idiots, absolutely draining us and trying to stop us in our tracks. And we just need to fuck them off and get rid of them.
You just reminded me of something that Validation Boy showed in a bit of NASA exposery, and he's got a video of somebody allegedly launching a satellite from one of the shuttles, and there's a guy in the background. It's obviously a half, or maybe even a third scale model, you know, about the size of a man, and you see the guy in the background, right, through the black haze, and cover kids' ears if you have kids listening. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to swear to repeat what Validation Boy said when he popped up in the background. He went, "Look at this fuck knuckle." in the shot. It's just so... I'd never heard it before. It's a term I'm not familiar with, but when you said knuckleheads, it just reminded me of Validation Boy debunking the hoaxery that is NASA by showing somebody in the background dressed in black and a half-scale model of the shuttle in a sky vacuum with wires pulling this satellite out of it. It was just terrible. Red Dwarf standard, man. It was proper 90s Red Dwarf scale models, high-speed photography. Just garbage, man. By today's standards, embarrassingly bad footage of space. You know, the stuff shouldn't age. We said this yesterday, right? Space footage should look only aged by the quality of the capture footage. The lenses and the tape going through the camera and the quality of the camera itself should be the only thing that shows the age of the footage. Nothing else about it should age in any way, because it's timeless. If you're actually travelling to a genuine rock in the sky vacuum, which can't possibly be the case, but that aside, if you were, it would be the same now as it was then. The only difference is you'd capture it in 8K resolution with a much more sophisticated lens and a much more sophisticated capture method, digital. That would be it. But what you actually captured would be directly comparable in all aspects. Doesn't matter if it's a spacewalk, it doesn't matter if it's a moonwalk, it doesn't matter if it's the journey. They should all be the same, save for the quality of the equipment used to capture it. That should be the only thing that differs. What we actually see is the quality of what comes from space ramps up at about the same quality as Hollywood faking space does. So the production quality of NASA moon landings is stop motion animation. Same with the Russians. It's just so obviously off the standard of production of the time and directly correlates with whatever you can contrast it with 2 years earlier in Hollywood, but just played a little bit closer to NASA's chest. You're not going to have any space wars going on. Obviously, it's just them eating a meal or playing golf. You know, but other than them playing their hands close to the chest, that's what correlates. The quality of production as opposed to just the quality of capture. So is a better way of contrasting it. If you go and look at a modern bang up to date nature documentary and compare it to something from the 60s, other than the quality of the camera work and the narration, what you see when they film a tiger and how a tiger looks and how a tiger behaves and what a tiger does and the tiger's environment will be identical today as it was in the 60s. It won't change save for the camera quality or the audio quality or the narration or the tone of voice or maybe some of the intonations of the guy or the vernacular that he uses in the time period. But those things aside, they'll be the same. It won't be that, wow, isn't that tiger's movement so much more fluid today? It was all jerky back in the 60s. The tiger didn't move as smoothly back then. And it don't work like that, but it does with NASA.
I think that's why they don't really try very hard to reenact a lot of that shit. Like, that's why we don't have a 2022 version of the moon landing, because of that right there, that stipulation of, well, if we make it look too real, then it won't match up with what we've already showed. But then we can't show what we used to show because it's 2022. We can't go back and use that technology and blame it on the technology. So we just pretend like we're not doing anything.
So no, you've quoted the guy who literally blames it on the technology. It's the technology's fault. We destroyed that stuff in the 60s and we can't get it back. So, I mean, it's basically the technology's fault.
I remember photographs from back in 2015 of NASA in the 80s where they had people in T-shirts with NASA on them or whatever and motorcycle helmets with a wire coming from the motorcycle helmet that's supposed to maybe be an air wire or something, and they were supposedly in a spaceship or a rocket or whatever going out into space. It was like from sci-fi. See, it matched what sci-fi was showing people, like on Battlestar Galactica and things like that, back in the 80s. They just match whatever young people, kids, whatever young sci-fi people are seeing at that time.
Because that's what it is. That's what NASA is. It's Santa Claus for adults.
Yep. Battlestar.
Neil, you're so loud. Third time I've told you.
like
Neil,
2
back
days
off your
ago.
mic. Neil, you're just blasting out my audience's eardrums every time you talk.
Sorry.
Somebody asked me a question, and they asked me to make a distinction between NASA and Hollywood. And thinking about it, I couldn't define a line that separates them and what they do.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Hollywood actually takes up the mantle of being actors. NASA pretends they're real.
Chili Peppers would know.
As with the guy who played Kirk, what's his name? He was in the news a couple of years ago.
William Shatner.
Shatner. He was asked, what's the difference between science fiction and science fact?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, William. Yeah, just be brutally honest.
Don't mess with Arwen's guy.
It's not my guy.
Why does everyone think William Shatner's Arwen's guy just because he liked Star Trek when he was a kid?
Yeah.
I still do like it, and I just think I'm just happy he's still around, right? He's an old man. I'm just happy he's still around, that's all. But yeah, the way he performed recently, it's just...
What, he stood by a desk while they had cameras rolling with ticker tape going along the bottom saying, men in space. He did his job. What's wrong with you? Okay, he didn't float around on the wires they strapped him to, but he's like 90 years old or something.
I know.
Right, so, he did an all right job. He stood by the desk and they said he was in space.
Yeah, sure, maybe. I just wish he would have, not be so eugenics about it afterward in the interviews.
How do you sleep at night, William?
You mean like
on a
crying and
massive
stuff?
pile of money would be the answer.
Yeah. How do you sleep on a massive pile of money?
We've totally foregone the housekeeping questions because the guy in Discord, whoever it was, Chaos, decided to spin off from the pre-show, which was about a minute and a half long. Don't know how that happened, but I thought, sod it. There's been no warm-up, so I'll just let them warm themselves up at the beginning of the live show, so hence there's been no housekeeping questions today. That said, it's been almost a solid hour of great conversation.
Oh, we're going to do the housekeeping?
Nah, at 10-2, no.
I have some topics to talk
We
about.
can do it in 7 minutes. Come on.
You want to do quick-fire housekeeping?
Yeah.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Negative.
No.
Only in the math.
Any
Well,
evidence?
I have to stop it.
Hell no.
I must stop you there.
Oh, here we go. See, he's never going to get done. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, because I said I had a couple of topics to talk about, and Arwen and Neil completely ignored that I was saying that. So
I heard you.
I'm going to stop you on that very topic.
That's what they're there for. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Has anyone seen my most recent video? I think you saw it, Nathan.
I went onto it, gave it a thumbs up, and proceeded to not actually watch it, I've got to be honest. I did spend about the same length as the video takes to play, not watching it while it played out, responding to almost every commenter.
Yeah.
Brian, I tried to watch it, but it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning.
And let's put it this way, Brian. If you talked about it, because it did play while I was responding to all of your commenters, because you had as well, about 50% of them, Well, I wanted to retell them all. You know, Earth's flat and it's got to be using elevation angles from a flat plane to do it. Here, there's the definition of an elevation angle 10 times. But I did listen to a degree.
I watched it, Brian, but I thought your delivery was a little bit flat.
I say we drag out whether or not we've watched it so he doesn't get to make the point for at least the next 6 minutes.
Well, the point of it is this. To get your correct latitude using Polaris, you must use the sea horizon. That's the only horizon you can use to get your correct latitude. So, you know the way the latitudes work? Well, you can't get your correct latitude at sea. This is at sea now, I mean. At sea, you will not get your correct latitude using a marine sextant without using the sea horizon. Every single globe claim involves you getting your latitude off a geometric horizon. Every single one of them. And that's why I showed, in my video, I showed all the diagrams from their side. Every single one of them claim a geometric horizon. And they all state that you must use the horizon to get your in conjunction with Polaris to get your correct latitude. But the horizon we see is not geometric.
Right.
So you can't get, you can't get your correct latitude using a globe's geometric horizon. But the plot thickens. See, as we know, they back-engineered all the elevation angles to Polaris into a radii. But the fact that they claim that the horizon we see is refracted, and even celestial navigation pushed this nonsense these days, the fact that they're claiming that it's refracted absolutely destroys the globe. Because it's that exact horizon their claim is refracted that you get your correct latitude from. But the actual size of the globe requires you to be getting your latitude from a geometric horizon, not that horizon, not the real one. Consequently, destroying the existence of the globe. Because if you're getting your correct latitude off of what they claim to be a refracted horizon, then that means the actual globe is way smaller than it's claimed to be. It doesn't have a 3959 mile radius. It has some way smaller radius. The whole thing is tiny in comparison. Because if all your latitudes are coming from the horizon we see, which they claim is a refracted position, then they're not coming from a geometric position. So consequently, it completely debunks the globe, completely. Because all their official diagrams show it coming from they all show that as the person moves from the North Pole down to the equator, that it's the geometric horizon of the globe that stops them seeing Polaris. When they get to the equator, Polaris is at 0 because of the geometric horizon of the globe, stopping them seeing Polaris. But in reality, they have to claim that the horizon we see is a refracted position, which is total nonsense, but that's what they claim. And that's what you have to use to get your correct latitude. I thought latitudes were based off of a globe's geometric horizon. And those observations that you're getting your latitudes off, they are the very observations that their radius is derived from. How could the radius be derived from a position that's supposed to be refracted?
Yeah, we've been saying it for 2 straight years, Brian. They've never got it until now. They're starting to get it because their method relies upon them having a physical geometric tangent point, Earth curve, edge, horizon. And that straight line to a tangent point, aka the thing they battled for about 5 years ago at the Isle of Man, that it had boats falling over it and was blocking the Isle of Man, they're now claiming that hasn't got any existence that we can visibly verify whatsoever. It can't be seen. So, lads, how's that geometric horizon working out for you now that you need it and you haven't got it anymore? Refraction! Oh, really? So when we say you haven't got a geometric horizon, the horizon's not geometric, and you say, oh, yeah, obviously not. Refracted, it's not no Atmo day. Yeah, that's fine as a response until you actually need one, like now.
I'd like to
Nathan,
say I
exactly.
called it, it's my paradox, but it's always good to go over again.
It's not your paradox. You
It
robbed
was
my
no,
thought.
I don't. Hold on, Brian. You're so quick to take credit.
Wow,
It was dubbed the Arwynian paradox because it was Arwyn that was the first to succinctly summarise the fact that if you refract the geometric horizon, you can no longer derive R from the geometric horizon. In other words, summarising the paradox that is acquisition of geometry if you haven't got a geometric tangent point. He was the first to summarise it, and therefore we gave him the privilege of labelling it after him. So it is actually labelled the Arwynian paradox.
But he's a
and
mind thief.
I'm really happy with that.
After he
Doesn't
stole
mean-
that
look,
from
Ryan,
me.
you understand.
However, I was just about to say,
math a
Arwyn.
lot better than I do, so
No.
you understand a lot more why and how the paradox even works. I was the one to call it out first.
Well, you were and you
Okay,
weren't. I think
before
I
that-
think actually it was Brian. Brian got there at least a couple of weeks before you, but you just happened to get credited.
No, I call it out. That's why calling it out. He might have
No,
thought it
I
up 2 weeks
thought about
before.
it.
I was the one to speak it out on the live show.
I still
No,
technically
I
give
thought
Brian
about
credit.
it, and I was just about to say it, and you stole my
Yeah.
thought and said it just before I was going to say it. Because you can get
That's
your
right.
thoughts to your words
Yeah.
faster than I can get my thoughts to
I
my
get
words.
it. You're not
know that.
jealous at all, of course.
Anyway, either way, just before the live show finishes, either way, the one thing that they absolutely require the geometric horizon for, because this involves the parallel light rays, everything, the one thing they absolutely require the horizon to be geometric for is the observations to Polaris. But you don't use the geometric horizon to gain your latitude. You use the sea horizon. So there is no glow.
Indeed, you
There's
can't use
nothing.
a geometric horizon. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. But with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!